welcome, Wendy, and thank you very much for having me. I'd like to first start off by saying good morning, good afternoon, and maybe good evening, since I don't know where all the participants are coming from, but thank you for spending a little bit of time with us today to talk about this important subject. And I'd like to start it off with first talking a little bit about strategic planning and the process of strategic planning. So the goal today is to understand, are there some things that we need to be aware of, and is there a definite process available to take strategic initiatives and then leverage best practice project management strategies, methods, whatever you'd like to call it, and make sure that we deliver on those strategic initiatives in the best way that we can for the organization, whether it be for-profit, government, nonprofit, it doesn't really matter. Many organizations today have some type of strategic plan or want to develop a strategic plan, and I think that's a great and an important fact. When you start planning strategically, you start to visualize and realize the intended results, the objectives that the organization wants to achieve, and lays those out in a way that everybody can understand them. And then once that's done, you need to, cascade those objectives or those themes or those goals down through the organization. And then, of course, the important part, which is what we're going to talk about mostly today, is what happens once that is done. So I wanted to start with just a couple of things here. We're going to do a couple, just want to point out a couple of things. I use this one example, and credit should be given to the Balanced Scorecard Institute for this particular one. If you look at this particular wheel and the way they help organizations deliver a strategic plan, looking at the top and going counterclockwise, not clockwise, but to the left, if you will. They start with a program, they do an assessment, and I'm into number 2 now. They're looking at their strategy, they define their objectives, they develop a strategy map, there's some key measurements and targets, and then once the strategic initiatives are defined by the executive team, they then get rolled out. They have to get rolled out to somebody, and they have to cascade through the organization so that everyone understands what those initiatives are, the reasons behind those initiatives, and then how they're going to implement those. Now, this is the critical part that I've seen over the years where organizations create a strategic plan or an initiative, a goal, an objective, whichever word you happen to use in your organization. And this is where things typically stall. This great strategic initiatives, sometimes it takes, a couple of weeks. Mostly it takes months. Sometimes it takes a year or two because the discovery process of developing a strategic plan for an organization is very complex, and it's very eye-opening for the organization. They start to realize what it is they really want to achieve, how they're going to get there, and then they have to implement that. So right where it says system rollout, and that's the reason I like this particular graphic here, is this is the key point. This is the keystone, the critical fulcrum, if you will, of how we go from a strategic plan to developing and delivering strategic initiatives using project management best practices. So I wanted to show you that to start us off with, and not to say this is the only option for you to build a strategic plan. There's certainly others, and I got a couple of other examples here. If I can go in the right way here, let's see, 10, there we go, and one more, there we go. So your strategic plan may look like this, and it may look a little complex, but the people that put this together, they understand it completely, and that's fine. I have no issue, or nor should you, about how you go about developing that plan. But the point I'd like to make, though, is that they've gone through a process to get here. And if you think about building your strategic plan, many times organizations have other facilitators or organizations come in or companies come in and help them with that strategic plan. I think that's a great recommendation because what it does is it takes any bias out of the strategic plan, and it helps the organization focus on what they really want to do. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but I think it's just a good idea to have a good facilitator come in, help you build your strategic plan, and come up with where you are today, where you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years, okay? And then, of course, how you're going to get there, all right? So nothing wrong with this strategic plan. It looks a little messy, but I'm sure if you blow it up enough, you'll see exactly what they had in mind. No problem there. Here's another example of one. This is a strategic roadmap, and a couple of things that I like about this one is that if you notice on the far left side, it's got version number 5. So they've gone through a couple iterations of this plan. That tells me that they've discovered some things that they do not need, and they've discovered some things that they must have in order to achieve what they're trying to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years, or whatever their plan duration is. This strategic roadmap also has some additional features in it that I happen to like. Up in the top right side is they've added some risk factors. They've identified at least a low, medium, and high risk factor. So they've got risks in there, and then they've color-coded the particular objectives or goals or themes, if you will, down below with those risk factors. So that way everybody can understand if we do, let's take the first one in the left column there, if we lead change, that's a medium risk. So at least they understand what that means in the strategic roadmap. It also has one other feature that I happen to like in a strategic plan, and that's obviously dates. And I'm sure that comes from my project management experience over the years, but it's got some dates associated with it so that we can start to see how long is it going to take to get from as is to be, if you will. In this particular case, they're starting in January 17. They want to be where they want to be in July of 19. So it's a 2-year process that they want to get to this point. So that's another version of a strategic plan. I wanted to show a couple of versions. I've got a couple more here just to show you that. There we go. Show you that, you know, your strategic plan could look like many things. This happens to be Parliament, their particular business strategy of the Parliament. And this is the house design, I call it, because you've got a foundation at the bottom on which everything else rests upon and is dependent upon.
Hi there, hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN2EARN, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.